Good morning, South Beach. Good morning, South Beach. Here we are at the world famous Fifth Street Gym, Miami Beach, for episode number 6 with our special guest, black belt, jiu-jitsu black belt, Wanderson Dos Santos. Welcome everybody. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you for being here with me.
Very excited. We got the UFC coming up. Big fight for the middleweight championship of the world. Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. And that's why we have Wanderson here to give us a little insight on this potential fight and it going to the ground and so on and so forth. So, you know, the very famous saying that the Brazilians say, all fights eventually go to the ground. Mm-hmm. That being said, all fights may go to the ground, but they for sure start on their feet, and Adesanya can strike.
That's for sure.
What do you think? How do you think this fight's gonna play out?
Well, like any fight, I think anybody can win a fight. For sure, they are not the same fighters that they were the last time they fight. I think Adesanya got better, and he for sure can still beat. I think he can beat. If he's gonna beat him, he's gonna be with like a sniper, with a striking, with a knockout. He's gonna hit him and get the finish with some type of knockout. If he's not able to find that hole and get that knockout, I also think that Vettori, as he's also not the same fighter, he's gonna be able to take him down and keep him there and get something, keep him on the floor and get the win.
So I think that Marvin is a bigger, wider, aggressive fighter. If he's got the chin to withstand the punishment going in, I think he's going to wind up taking him down, controlling him, and win some boring rounds. He's only going to win 3 boring rounds, and I think that will be enough. I'm a fan, obviously. I'm a fan of striking. It's more exciting to see someone get their face punched off. But I think the secret to Marvin winning is that control. And I actually think it's going to be possible. I think it's most likely going to happen.
I don't think he's scared to get punched, and that can be his way to get Adesanya. You know, just eat a few punches, just press through, and get that takedown. And once he's down there, I really don't think Adesanya got better enough to be able to get out of it. I think Vettori got better skills on the floor, on the ground, than Adesanya.
Since we're on the MMA topic, last night we had the Clarissa Shields main event, PFL, I think 55 pound fight.
Yeah, 55. It was like, wow, you don't see a whole lot of 155 pounds of female fights in MMA.
She's a big, strong girl. And she's been here many times to train and work out. She's brought her whole team with her, coaches, everybody. And she is something else. I mean, I've seen her spar with men and put it on them. She can fight. She's genuinely the greatest female boxer, but this is way out of her league.
Yeah, she's definitely a great athlete, and you could even see yesterday during the fight that she was down there. You know, she had some tough first 2 rounds. She was on the bottom, getting punched, getting attack submissions, but she kept her cool and was able to escape. And a lot of fighters, they break when the pressure comes, but she was able to stay there, stay calm, stay cool. Also keep her cardio, because when you're getting punched or in the bottom, it's not only be able to be mentally there and not crack and be able to escape, also your cardio, be able to keep breathing slow and be able to continue fighting afterwards, because a lot of time you're down there, you forget to breathe, and when you come out, you're tired. But no, once she came out, she had still that energy, and she came back with a strong TKO.
I'm a beginner jiu-jitsu student under you, and
Tom's gonna join too soon.
No, I'm enjoying it.
Part of now that I've been researching jiu-jitsu more and more, the Gracie concept was all about just survival. Mm-hmm. And she really, that's exactly what she did those first 2 rounds. She just had enough ground skills to just survive.
And that was beautiful, because like you say, the Gracies at the beginning, when you talk about, Helio Gracie, the first Gracies that spoke about jiu-jitsu that they were fighting, they would do those 1 hour matches, 2 hours, hour fights. And it was impressive that they still would win, but you just wait and get the opponent tired, and then you could beat him. But it was a patient game. nowadays, because of the MMA system that we have, we copy boxing with the round system, the way to get the points. Sometimes it's a weird game. You don't know if you win, if you lose, even though you might get 2 rounds, maybe the last round is impressive, you end up losing. So if you don't get a TKO, she didn't get that TKO yesterday.
She loses.
She loses. But so, you can't really wait for the last round to get the TKO. She was lucky that did it. And, praise to her, but that's not always how it goes.
But, so much of fighting is about, in the Rocky movie, he makes the big speech about getting knocked down and getting back up.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali's the greatest for coming back. So much of it's about just withstanding life and what goes on inside and outside the ring. There's so many fighters that they have all the skills, all the talents, and they wind up getting their girlfriend pregnant, and that sidetracks them. It doesn't happen. They wind up getting an injury. They never recover from that. Life gets in the way all the time. And then sometimes you see the actual trouble comes directly on camera in the ring, and how much can they withstand. And she really showed what she's made out of. I mean, clearly, she's overcome a lot just by having the humility to go into an MMA gym and getting the crap kicked out of you. I know, because on the mat, granted, I was never what Clarissa is standing up, but that being said, it's humbling getting beat up by typically people that are weaker than you or smaller than you or less athletic than you, because they have the technique of jiu-jitsu. For her to have the humility to go into a gym and take that is quite the thing, and then put it all on the line in front of everybody. That takes a lot of balls.
As a 2-time Olympian and a world champion.
Yeah.
So she's made of different material, and she showed it.
Yeah, she's special. For sure, she's special. It's different. You just see her energy. She be screaming there. This is crazy. This is crazy. She be screaming. You're just like, wow, you're crazy. I was like, wow. I love her energy. But you can tell, not only because of the titles that she got, she's some special type of being. You don't accomplish what she's accomplished without being normal. You have to grind, you have to go through that struggle. When, that bounce back, you fall down 8 times, you get back up 9 times. And you can clearly see that she got that type of quality.
And, people that wouldn't know her, she looks super tough. But she comes here and she's super sweet. She's all smiles. She's pleased. Coach, thank you, Coach. Thanks for having me in the gym. Thanks for having me in the gym. We're honored and flattered.
Great camp she got, too.
So she's something special. Since, along the lines of MMA, we have also coming up, back to the UFC, we have the Cesar Gracie student.
Yes, Nate Diaz fighting this weekend. Special guy, another one of those guys that, he's one of the guys that got that stigma around him. If you're a big fan of MMA as well, of himself, I've been following his career for many, many years since he was in the Ultimate Fighter. And, from that guy in the Ultimate Fighter into today, I really see he's the same person. He was that person, he's that person. He behaves the same way, and he's not coming up with a face. He's about the life, that's his life. He's there to fight, that's what he loves to do. And if you look at him weird, he'll tell you what's up and let's go. Yeah.
He's a real deal. He's authentic.
Yeah,
and that
definitely.
I think in this goofy world of Zoom meetings and Zoom school and all this nonsense we've had to deal with for the last year, I think that fighting sports are going to become even more popular than ever, because everybody's trying to be so sterile. Everyone's so afraid of everything, and they see real people living real lives, doing real things, getting punched in their face, bleeding, having someone almost break their arm, that they get to live vicariously through fighters. And I think it's become more important than ever. So to see a guy like Nate Diaz, when you're at home and you're afraid of everything, and you see a guy like Nate Diaz that is afraid of nothing, I think it gives you the motivation to at least have the guts to get off the couch and turn the TV on and at least watch him and live vicariously through him. And I think that us as coaches and fighters and managers and the people that do TV for fighting, I think our job is going to become more important than ever before. I think that the few people that have the nerve and the guts to come into a place where you're going to get spit on, you're going to get sweat on, you might even get bled on, is really going to separate our students, our fighters, from the rest of the world. And the rest of the world is going to look upon that with envy to a degree, with positivity, with they're just going to look forward to everything that we're doing. And I think that this UFC is going to be through big numbers. I know that we've had a lot of fights with not even fighters recently, and they're doing big numbers because people are really looking forward to seeing people that are really living their lives for real and not.
Yeah, and it's real. That goes back to our idols. Like we love to have people that we look up to. You know, we all grew up. I'm sure we all grew up with some type of idols or a father figure, someone that we look up to. And nowadays, but we've been used to having those idols, those figures. They're fake. You know, those Hollywood stars. They're like, you know, you got some athletes. They're, you know, pretty strong athletes. You know, like basketball, football, and so on. But still, you're gonna compare like athletes in MMA, UFC, the top guys. They are working hard. Not only they're working hard, they're getting banged, their body is getting damaged, and they're still training, they still are hurting, and they're still fighting. So I don't know, it's a different type of level of athlete and also person. It's really real because just like in Jiu-Jitsu, I tend to say to my students, like a new person, it's the same thing in MMA. There's no way to be fake there. There's no way, you can't fake it. You can't fake being there. You try to fake me, like act cool, you get punched in the face, that's it. It's over. So, you know, I think it's gonna be good, not only for people to have more people to look up to, like athletes that are fighting, but also have someone that I feel like is more real. Like it's not fake, it's not TV. So another point too is the money part, because look at how much money that all these other athletes make in comparison to MMA. That's another. I feel like another. The fact that they're gonna be making more money, they're gonna have more publicity because they having these new deals, so people are gonna know more about them. Therefore, they're gonna have more fans. You know, money, publicity,
all comes together.
It's all come together. So yeah, I want to be there. We're gonna be there. We're here. Let's go.
So, most recently, speaking of real or question,
Wanderson for real.
That's right.
That's my
Instagram?
username everywhere on social media platform. Just follow me.
We've had YouTubers
Yeah.
fighting arguably the
yeah.
best fighter of our generation. We had Logan Paul
And Logan.
fight
Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd. And Jake.
It was, well, Jake's gonna fight, but it was very interesting. The amount of reaction, the amount of people that were into it, I was shocked everywhere I went, on every that's all everyone asked me about. My doorman asked me. The lady that was cleaning the elevator asked me, "You watch Floyd Mayweather?" I said, "Lady, I didn't know you cared." You know, everyone was really excited, enthusiastic, and I think that everyone was really disappointed. I feel like that they thought they were going to get something they weren't. And Floyd's famous for hype, you know, all sizzle and no steak. I mean, he's the best at pumping it up, and then the actual product is, you know, a little men's a men's. But Tom, you know, your whole life is boxing. You saw this coming. What did you think was going to happen?
Well, I'll go back to, I didn't want to say much because I'm not a big MMA guy and jiu-jitsu guy, but now that you brought that up, Eddie Hearn had a really, really good point on everyone's watching, everyone's spending money on these fights. And the Logan Paul last month, what's his name, Jake Paul in Atlanta a couple months ago. It seems that's where everything's going. So boxing, in order to keep up with that, they're going to have to put some good fights in. And Eddie Hearn just said it the other day. How are they going to do that? I mean, promoters got to start getting people to watch big fights. They can't just pick and choose their own fighters. Top Rank can't have their fighters, and Eddie Hearn has his fighters. But how are they going to do it? How are they going to get the kind of million, I don't know how many pay-per-views they did on Logan versus Floyd, but how are you going to get real boxing to do
Those
what
numbers.
these guys are doing, you know, celebrity fighting?
I mean, I know what made me fall in love with boxing was the documentary's been on this week with Showtime when they were kings. When Duran and Leonard and Hearns were killing each other.
When we were kings, I think is Muhammad Ali.
sorry, what was his name?
Fab Force. I can't remember, but I know.
Nevertheless, the Showtime documentary on
Tommy Hearns. So just so you guys know, Tommy Hearns was in here this week, so that was kind of cool.
Pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
That's what made me fall in love with boxing. Was those wars, those great fights. Marvelous Hagler was right, you know, with maybe arguably the greatest couple rounds in boxing history. So they keep putting on these fights. If you're a 10-year-old kid and you turn on these fights and it's PBC's fighter versus some journeyman that they found to make an excuse so he could keep his belt and win, I don't see how you're going to get the kid's not going to turn it on next week. I remember as a kid seeing local fights in Chicago, and they'd get a guy that was a local neighborhood favorite from one neighborhood versus another neighborhood, and they were wars. It didn't matter that when they went to the national scene, they wound up losing. Didn't matter when they fought in the top 10. They never made one for the world title. The fact that they were close competitive fights, the Gotti award fights, those are they weren't even for any of the major titles, but they were great fights. That's what made them so interesting. So if they're gonna sell us this nonsense, I think, I'll watch anything.
Right.
Mike Tyson's recently famous said, I'll watch 2 cockroaches fighting. Me too, I'll watch anything.
I don't know.
But they need to put a good quality product.
But what do you do to get that? I mean,
like these guys did, because going back to what you're saying about, you felt like there was more people communicating about this fight, and I see, because I have my own pages that I have. We love BJJ, Jiu-Jitsu Girls. When I'm involved with the posting and the MMA community, the combat sports community, and I saw that every single combat sports page were talking about them, were posting about them, and I really believe they were going around. They have a whole team, a machine, from the Logan Paul for sure, and maybe even for the Mayweather, but for sure the Logan Paul, and they just go around making sure everybody's talking about them. So they do like a before work, making sure people are gonna talk about them even before the event and then the after.
Like for a guy who's not like a hardcore boxing guy, like a lot of people eventually will hopefully listen to this, what would you like to see? What would make you go watch a boxing match?
I think maybe, I know the rules are set, but maybe 3 boxing matches in a night, for example, could be an idea. Like the UFC, it could be like a tournament. That sounds exciting,
But what would drive you, for instance? Would it be a name, a personality, an exciting fighter? What do you think that would do it?
The fighter we have, it was exciting because we didn't know really what would happen. I mean, I know he's the best boxer ever, but this guy is huge. Like, he's big. If he really had learned a good punch, just one punch, if we hit that one punch, maybe he could knock Floyd down. But the same way Floyd could have hit him in a liver. So kind of like they were playing.
But it turned out that the last time when Floyd fought Pacquiao, when Floyd fought McGregor, when Floyd fought this guy, they're really just not. So if you're first, this is what's introduced you to boxing. You're not coming back for the next one. You're not watching back to back. They're losing.
But it felt like he was building this to have a next fight too.
But if a restaurant breaks their neck to get you in the door and then you give them bad food, they're not coming back. And I think they're not providing the quality of service. Now there's a big fight coming up again. We got speaking of Pacquiao, we got Pacquiao and Spence coming up.
I was just going to bring that up.
Spence is, arguably the best fighter at 147, and Pacquiao was at one point the best fighter at 147. It's amazing he can still fight at this age. I kind of thought that he was going to kind of go quietly off into the sunset, and he's not. He's trying, unlike Floyd, who went out of his way to be the greatest manager ever. I think he's a much better manager than his fighter. He picked the right fights at the right time. He got Canelo long before Canelo hit his prime. He gets guys when he got Pacquiao when he was old. We thought too old and injured. Pacquiao is trying to fight the best fighter in the division, who's, I don't know how, he's got to be somewhere, he's got to be 15 or 16, 17 years younger than him.
Yeah, 31 I think he is.
31, so there you go. 14 years, 14 years different. That's a big swing when this kid's in his prime.
At that weight.
Yeah, especially the smaller guys fight, their careers end a lot earlier. Pacquiao is really going for it. So that's going to make me, I can see all the Pacquiao, first of all, the Philippines, forget about it. They'll watch him until he's 100. But me as a boxing fan, that's a fight I won't miss.
Right.
That's a fight where it's amazing to me that he's even got the guts to go do that. Plus Spence is so good. So,
excellent.
But I think I'm worried about the 10-year-old that's coming. He watches his first fight. Oh, look. Let's watch the Logan Paul Mayweather. Wah, wah, wah. What makes him? He's not going to want to turn boxing on. I think what they have to do is.
But some of these young kids, they enjoy it. They.
But while they have those eyeballs, they got to put 2 fighters on there that are trying to kill each other. So even if they're not world champions, they got to make them go to war so that things really.
How do you do that?
You got to match up guys. Styles make fights.
So like Eddie Hearn
not trying to protect your fighters.
Like Eddie Hearn said, it doesn't matter. We really need to do it.
Because you got the eyeballs. Don't waste the eyeballs. Now, there's also this summer's is loaded. I mean, people are criticized boxing.
Like Fury, you think Fury Wilder 3?
There you go. Boxing is criticized compared to the quality of production.
You think Wilder, Joshua should have fought before they kind of tried to build this thing up? You think it would have?
I think that they really did I know they had a contract. I know they wanted him to step aside. But Fury, Joshua is the fight that everyone wants to see. If perchance somebody were to get injured or anything could happen, and that fight doesn't happen, you robbed all the boxing fans of that fight. Now, I really think that Fury's going to win easy. I think he'll be ready.
Wilder?
I think he's going to beat Wilder easy in 3 to 6 months. He'll be, easy. I think he's got his number. I think that the Wilder, who has great accomplishments in boxing, bronze medalist in the heavyweight champion
but you
of the
see
world.
what he did it to him with he was all but out and he got up. So he does have a puncher's chance.
No, of course, but I just don't think it's going to be a problem.
It's not going to be a problem this time.
And I think he's going to beat him easy. And in 3 to 6 months, he'll be ready to fight Joshua. And I think they're going to fill up a giant stadium in England, and it's going to be a great, great thing. And I think that, to be honest with you, in my opinion, we're very friendly with the Joshua team. They come here and train.
And Fury,
they're
too.
very nice. But my opinion is that Tyson Fury is the greatest fighter in recent years. Definitely the greatest heavyweight. How amazing is they named him Tyson after the heavyweight champion he was born. He goes on to become the heavyweight champion. It's unbelievable. The whole story's unbelievable. His personality, his problems that he's had, all that being said, builds up to him winning again and again and again. And he can win as long as he wants. As long as he stays focused and stays on, there's nothing stopping this guy. Our fighters have recently had a chance to work out with them. He knows boxing inside out. He's explaining to them nuances of the game that these guys have 10 professional fights. They're new to the game, relatively speaking, but they're still professional. He's talking about things they've never even heard of. So this guy is at a next level mentally, physically. I know he doesn't have the body of Muhammad Ali.
That little belly is cute.
Yeah, but boy, he can perform. And we have a great summer of boxing. They talk about how the UFC's taken over. I know they're doing a great job. They're making big money. They're doing big shows. Every show has got this quality. It's got these big names. But boxing is, obviously, TV channels don't put boxing on because no one's watching. They're not putting boxing on because they're doing it. It's a business to them. They don't care. They'd put tiddlywinks on if people would watch it. So clearly, I'm such a boxing nut that I watch, in the middle of the day, I watch boxing. There's boxing like from Russia on TV.
Right.
So obviously, they're putting it on for a reason. So it's something.
Speaking of Russia, what do you think about Usyk? What do you think Usyk's going to go? What do you think about? Does he have a shot at any of these guys from cruiser going to heavy?
I don't think Usyk can beat these big guys. I definitely can't beat Tyson Fury. So maybe he can outbox Wilder because Wilder is wild. He's not the cleanest, most technical guy. But again, I think all roads lead to Tyson Fury, and until he retires, nobody's getting past there. And he can have other than this nonsense with promoters and sanctioning bodies, he can have all of the belts. He's the linear champion. He's the heavyweight champion. He's the man. Usyk is just a small guy. I mean, I've stood next to him. Yeah. We actually had one of our fighters fight him in his home country, right. And he won very easily. But nevertheless, he's a small guy.
Canelo, where do you think Canelo's going?
I mean, Canelo is going to follow the Mayweather blueprint. He's going to manage himself for the team.
Smart.
He's going to make sure that they fight, the safest fights, the smartest fights. I mean, I can't believe that no one talks about Canelo Charlo. I don't understand how this is possible. Charlo's clearly the best guy, and now he's a super middleweight. Okay, so what? You offer Charlo enough money, I promise he'll gain the 8 pounds. It's not that big of a difference. He's such a great fighter. I mean, he's not the kind of guy I want to have coffee with. Don't misunderstand. But that being said, the big Charlo is a bad mother joner, and he should get the fight. Everyone's talking about all these other guys. They're bringing guys from Europe. This guy's the best fighter, and within 20 pounds of him, no one talks about this guy.
Why do you think? Is it business? Is it?
It's business.
They
Monkey
say Canelo's
business.
scared,
It's
but
monkey
you
business.
really think
No, Canelo's not
scared?
scared. His people that are making millions and millions of dollars that's their job.
They're taking the
But the
time.
sanctioning bodies, it's their job to say this is what it takes to get the belt. You got to do this. You got to fight these guys.
So when Eddie Hearn says what he says, he knows what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about.
Absolutely. You got the people that have a brain. The people that have a brain have to control the people that want money. You can't just let everyone just take the money from the fans. That's what they did with Logan Paul and Mayweather. They just say, hey, here.
Well, they didn't take our money.
Give me.
Well, Floyd said this is highway robbery.
I mean, at least they have the decency to stick you up with a gun instead of sticking you up with remote control. So, nevertheless, but boxing is there for us. Never went anywhere. It's there. So it's up to I think it's up to WBC, WBA. I mean, I can't even think of all the letters. WBO and the IBF to make sure guys fight who they're supposed to fight. I don't see what's so hard.
there's 4 different organizations though, and they have 4 different ways of doing things, and that's again where it becomes hard.
I mean, I know
It's not like the UFC.
I know it could get better. It could be like UFC, but if, for comparison, as we talking before about jiu-jitsu, if you compare with jiu-jitsu, boxing is way up there. We wish we would have jiu-jitsu, for example, in TV. There's no jiu-jitsu in TV. Barely you find, like, there's no like really money in jiu-jitsu. So in a way, like, yeah, it's bad, but it's not as bad as jiu-jitsu.
I mean,
So.
it's partly up to the TV stations that control. Is it ESPN? Is it Showtime? Is it?
I mean, in
It's the
my
fans. It's the
personal
fans,
experience,
too.
I've had TV people tell me, no, my fighter is not gonna. He doesn't have the fans. He doesn't have the support. He doesn't have the sale. He's not gonna sell. So he's not fighting. Okay, fine. But everyone knows it doesn't take too much genius to figure out who the top 4 guys in the division are. Number 1 fights number 2. Number 2 fights number 3. The winner gets that's 3 fights. That's a year of boxing in every division. Problem solved. 1 fights 2, 3 fights 4. They fight the winner. That's 3. That's 12 months of fighting right there. At the end of the year, you have the best fighter in every division.
Do you think we have, for lack of a better word, the pussification of boxers that they don't want to do it, or is it the promoters?
No, I
Who's
think-
the one that you think?
I think that in the end, it's the promoters. I think it's in the end. I think it's the sanctioning body. That's their governing body. That's what they're called, governing bodies, to make rules. So simple. Make rules. They tell a guy, you're supposed to fight the number 1 guy. I don't want to fight the number 1 guy. Number 1 guy doesn't want to fight the number 2. You know what, guys? You can't fight anybody
Into fight.
for not 1 fight. You can't fight anybody for 2 years. That's nonsense. Will stop right away.
Yeah, I think that will help, because what they do is they keep like babysitting the fighters just like they do at the beginning to build their record. Later on, they do the same to like build their career. So they keep picking and choosing. But if they have some regulations like that, then where they have to fight the guy ahead of them, the 5 gotta fight the number 6 gotta fight the number 5,
So
and
what
so
about
on.
this mentality? You have to be 20-0 to fight somebody. How do you stop that mental? Where in the UFC, you look at somebody's records, 14-10, and they can become champion. How do you stop that mental block from boxing fans saying, okay, this guy's 12-3?
I mean, again, you could fix everything with a tournament style. It's very simple. You could take the top, 16 guys. What I just did with 4, you could do with 16. 16 down to 8, 8 down to 2. Whoever's 16 is 16. If he's got 3 losses, who cares? If he goes on a 4 fight win streak, and including that guy and the world champion was in there, he's the world champion. You could easily take 16 down to 8, 8 down to 4, 4 down to 2, and have a real. And everyone go, oh my God, that guy won 4 fights in a row, and everybody he fought was in the top 16. He's the real deal.
Everybody's talking about it. That's
Right?
it. Yeah, and
That's
everybody's
it,
gonna
probably.
be.
And the buzz. Can you believe the guy that was number 16 in the tournament? He beat the world champion. All of a sudden, the fans he'd be an underdog.
yeah, like-
Yeah,
you
think
do
of
in
like
you do in
NCAA.
March Madness.
And think about the.
It's at the French
It's like a Cinderella story.
Cinderella story.
Like a story. A good example going back to MMA is what happened with Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier, when they did this tournament, Strike Force, Daniel Cormier was a replacement. He didn't supposed to even be fighting on the tournament. It was like a heavyweight Grand Prix with like the best guys in the world, including like Fedor Emelianenko, Fabricio Verdun, a bunch of other champions. The guy that was gonna fight fell off, so Daniel Cormier took his spot, came in and beat everybody, ended up winning the Strike Fight Grand Prix title, jumped to the UFC, and then the rest is story. 2 division champions and so on. But he was a replacement.
Yeah,
he
if
wasn't
you
even
don't
supposed
fall
to
in
be
love with
there.
Someone like that, then you don't have. It's genuine, real fans. They become fanatic. I know with March Madness, that's a great example. I'm like cheering for some screwball school I never even heard of, just because they were a low seed and now it's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm not a basketball fan per se, So I don't come from I come from Chicago. We had DePaul University, not much of a contender. Illinois, not much of a contender. So now I'm start cheering for these schools that I never even heard of, and I'm watching TV, which is the point. The point is that's what they're trying to do is they want
I think everything's
guests
going to go to apps now, though, even with.
or whatever. They
same
want
stuff,
you on. They want
Yeah,
fans.
you watch. They want you to watch.
Yeah, they want you to watch. So I think boxing has every opportunity, but I think.
But it's like every time it's like they screw it up. They can't help it. It's in their nature in boxing to just fuck things up every single time.
No, they can come fight MMA when they screw up.
Agreed.
They can just come to MMA. Come to MMA.
Agree to the promoters. That's what I mean. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
it's like they cannot help
And
themselves.
in the promoters' defense, they've been screwed over by more fighters.
Yeah.
They put money into these guys. They built their careers up, and then all of a sudden the guy gets locked up for punching his wife in the face, and now where do they go? They can't promote him anymore. He's a wife beater. He's in jail, and now what? They wasted all their time. Or the guy gets in an accident, or he's on drugs, or I mean, it's happened both ways. It's not just one way or the other.
But the one thing I have, after all these years in boxing, is the fans usually get it right. I wish somehow the fans can determine who wins a fight. Not necessarily the judges, not to take anything away from judges or referees or anything like that. But in fights that we've been in, on both sides, fights that I watch, the fans, when they have the fans voting, the fans always get it right. I wish there was somehow, some way, whether American Idol or like these silly shows, the fans really, they pay the money, they should decide who wins.
I know I've been in fights where my fighter, I was like in the corner waiting for the decision. I thought for sure we lost. And the judges gave it to us, and I can't believe it. And I think more often than that's been the other way around. But nevertheless, it doesn't make any sense that I'm watching every single punch that's there, and I can see my fighter's losing, and he wins. How is that possible? It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, we know.
See these,
I think everyone knows why.
Yeah, because they have Steve Wonder as their judge.
Even small
Steve
fights,
can't see.
Small fights where there's no big consequences to why would they? They're not doing me a favor. They don't like me. They don't know me.
But that's never changed. How do you, again?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, that's a problem in all the sports, the decision. That's why you got to take on your own hands.
That's why I love bare knuckles.
Yeah, bare knuckles. It's hard to get left to the referee, to the judge's hand.
Gets knocked out. Judges are out of
quick.
Short rounds, fast and furious. And that being said, next week we're gonna have Luis Baboon Palomino next week on our next show to talk about his fight.
Baboon
6, defending his world title belt. So here we go. We have a hot summer coming up, and that being said, we will be recording every week. Episode number 7 next week with Luis Baboon Palomino, the bare knuckle world champion. We'll have shows every week with different guests. And if anyone wants to come watch live, they can always come to the world famous 5th Street Gym and check us out. What do you have, Professor Wanderson? What do you have coming up right now for this summer?
Well, we are building the program here in Miami Beach. If you don't know, there's not a whole lot of jiu-jitsu in Miami Beach, but we started this program here in the 5th Street Gym. It's been going on already for a few months, and now we're really ready to launch another location here that we're gonna have it. So if you've never done jiu-jitsu, if you've done jiu-jitsu, if you're around our area in Miami Beach, make sure you reach out to Dino, to Tom, myself, and come train some jiu-jitsu with us. Besides that, I'm always training, always ready to fight. Just had a super fight a few weeks ago, but keep training. Something new is gonna pop.
The Pod Matrix.